Welcome to my inn. There's always room for another.
Hey guys,
hello and welcome to Drink. I had to fill in for you. Welcome to Turn2, a podcast about Hearthstone. This is all right, Doa. You can pick up from there.
Okay, thank you for that lovely intro.
That was me being a bro, man.
That's a stupid. We've got two good guests and two okay hosts on the show this week. One of our guests, of course, is Trump SC, the Reddit-proclaimed master of the arena. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Glad to be on.
It's good. And we have also got Cats himself, Root Cats. What's up, man?
Not much.
It's good. All right. So, well,
and he may not be the Reddit-acclaimed master of aggression, but he is the Artosis-acclaimed master of weenie decks. So, happy to have him on here to talk about his Murlocs and shit like that.
Oh, come on. I only have like one Murloc deck.
Okay. All right.
Well,
I erase it. I erase decks like every day. I make a deck every day.
I think you do.
There's not enough spots. There's only, what, like 9 spots? There's one for each class? Like, how many decks you can have at once?
Really?
For me, that's not enough. Yeah.
I very slowly move forward with my decks. Like, I had one for the first, like, month and a half, and now I'm up to 4, finally.
Yeah, I've always got 9, and it's never enough. I wish I had more slots. Oh, well. But, anyway. So, well, I don't know. Let's just talk about aggression. Let's just get right into it. Let's be aggressive. So, Cats, you've been playing a class that a lot of people have been saying isn't quite as strong. You've been playing a lot of Warrior lately. Like, what has been the most successful for you with Warrior? How do you approach it?
I really like a Warrior Pirate deck that I have, and that's about it. I've tried to make every other type of Warrior work, and it doesn't seem to. So yeah, Pirates, man. But it's still not. Like, it's the problem with Warriors. It seems to have like no draw. And it's like really reliant on some cards. So if I don't draw my weapons, then I just lose. I have a bunch of weapons, but sometimes you just don't draw them, and there's no way to force them out. So it's
So you've got like Bloodsail Raider in there and Dread Corsair. Those are probably like the 2 pirates that you rely on with that one, or is it more?
Yeah, I have the parrot that searches for pirates.
Okay.
Those 2, and the guy that gives +1 to all pirates. So
okay.
3/3 for 3. It's not the greatest card ever, but it's fine.
So do you feel like because now you're going to have to cut down some direct damage because of that if you're going to have that many pirate creatures in there, right? So
yeah.
Does it feel like that hurts you at all, or do you think your creatures are enough to kind of make up for it?
I like to compensate by having charge, kind of.
Ah, okay.
So I have the card that gives a creature charge, and the guy that gives all your cards charge and stuff like that. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, in a sense, your creatures kind of become your direct damage if you need them to.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a cool way to get around.
What's your favorite type of aggressive deck? Because I've played like a billion games against you, and I feel like you just attack me nonstop every single game. It's kind of like old.
I don't know what. Like I
StarCraft
think that. I think that Warlock's my favorite aggressive class, if that's what you mean. Just because, you know, like the mechanic of having a lot of cheap creatures lets you draw a lot of cards that you can potentially play on the same turn as well with your ability. So that's really nice.
Trump, do you play any aggressive decks?
I am pretty much the least aggressive player of all time.
Oh, no, you're not as unaggressive as I am. I guarantee you that. We gotta play some custom games. We'll draw out our entire decks if you think you're as unaggressive as I am.
We probably will.
Sick.
It's gonna be like one of those games where it gets like turn
Sick.
5 and 6, and you've got like a druid and a priest, and neither person's played anything yet. Yeah, I've seen those types of
hero
things.
abilities.
I do not like that kind of game. I play aggressive as well. What do you think about Paladin? I feel like out of the aggressive decks that you can make in Hearthstone right now, Divine Shield Paladin is probably the strongest at the moment.
That's what I've felt as well. Well, I've hit some of these. Like I've played against Cats, and his Warlock deck is like pretty sick as far as aggression goes. Have you hit any aggressive decks that you think are actually really good, Trump?
Yeah. There's a lot of the big three that I think are Warlock, Hunter, and Paladin. And Shaman. That would be
Yeah,
so.
Paladin. What else? Shaman, really?
Yeah, they got the Flame Tongue Totem thing going. That can be pretty aggressive.
Yeah. I've got a Shaman deck that's super aggressive with token cards. So when I say token, I mean all the cards that summon an extra guy when you play it. So even if they clear the board, I can have like 4 or 5 creatures down on the next turn if we're like in the 5-6 mana range, and that pairs really well with totems and bloodlust and all that kind of stuff too. And then you've got the nice direct damage from the spells to kind of clear their side of the board. So that was what I was playing up until I revamped my Divine Shield deck, and it did pretty well.
Well,
Yeah,
the
I
Divine
really
Shield
like the
Paladin,
Divine Shield.
Yeah,
It's sick.
it's like so efficient. It's
Yeah.
like kind of ridiculous.
Well, it kills
In
rogues.
fact, it does. It kills everything if you get the right draw, and they don't get like a really good draw. Like Divine Paladin, I just kind of stopped using it because, I feel like it has like it goes 60% against everything or something like that. You know what I mean?
It seems like it's a
Interesting.
little bit higher for me. I don't know. I want to compare Divine Shield deck sometime, because I feel like I have a pretty high win rate. I'm like in the around the 80% or so right now.
Well, I guess on ladder it's like
Yeah.
that, but I guess when I play it like in custom games against people I know are actually good and going to make good decisions, it's not quite as high, but it still like generally ends up winning most of the time.
Yeah. That is pretty good. Huh. So I've noticed that as far as the game itself goes right now, it seems like control is just a little bit stronger overall than aggression at the moment. What do you guys think?
I feel like that's true. Trump?
Anybody else? Anybody?
I can't say I know that.
Oh yeah. Now, well, let's now Trump, you're obviously
Oh, yeah?
really known for like arena stuff, right? Do you play a lot of ranked? Do you do a lot of constructed? Because all I see you do is arena.
Not really as much as you guys, I imagine, but what I do know is from what control decks I have built, like I've been rushed down before.
It's possible. What kind of control do you play?
The two main ones that I play are the Rogue, and recently I've been toying with the Druid control. Maybe not the same one that you guys were talking about, because I built it without looking at anything, but it probably ended up being around the same.
Now, I made an argument in an article I wrote recently that the deck that everybody is calling Rogue Control, like the Value Talent, all that stuff, is actually not a control deck, but in fact is an aggression deck, because one of the tenets of control is to win in the late game and to kind of keep a clean board state and then come out with big stuff late, whereas that deck does quick damage early on, and it does control the board, but isn't in itself a control deck. What do you think?
Yeah, if we're talking about the one with weapons, I think it could be considered... you're using your weapon to clear it. I would call it a control deck. You could play it aggro.
Okay. Because with what I'm trying to do is define the basic tenets of the archetype, aggro versus control, right? And the difference between these two, one of the big differences, because every deck in Hearthstone and every deck in every CCG should try to control the board in some way. That's just part of CCGs. But it's more about when you want to win the game, at what point. If you want to win early with a lot of early damage, no matter how that gets done, I would say that's aggro. And if you plan on pushing for a long game and winning late, I would say that's more control-oriented. So that's why I always put Value Town and that kind of rogue stuff in the aggro side of things. because it does like hit hard, hit early, and end the game quickly.
You know, you got to be careful though with like how you label things, because in each matchup it can change what your deck is. Like who's the beatdown in a specific matchup. Like my Shaman control deck plays control against every single deck, and then it hits a priest control, and then it has to actually be the beatdown deck. You know, because it's like it turns into an aggressive deck. I look at all my options as aggressive options in that way. So yeah, it's a little food for thought.
I don't know. I like talking about this kind of stuff and debating it, but
I think that's a great point. Artosis.
Terminology is not my
It's a spectrum.
I see. It is. It always does depend, but it's more like the objective that you're thinking of when you're building the deck and all that kind of stuff. But I guess moving back to aggression and things like that, what do you think about Warlock aggression, for instance? Because I've seen it seems like most Warlock decks I run into are more slow oriented, but yet I've seen a couple Warlock decks that are just really, really aggressive with the cards that Blizzard gives Warlock in terms of kind of hurting yourself to get big stuff out there quickly. And those seem like really hit or miss right now. So speaking about Warlock aggression specifically, do you think Warlock hurts itself too much for that to be like super viable right now, or what do you think?
Well, I think that Warlock aggression is great, but I don't think that all the cards that Blizzard gives you are all that great. And like you said, they're hit or miss. Like, I don't really like using Succubus all that much. I don't really like using the Felguard all that much, even though my deck is really low on cost. I don't really like the Doomguard all that much. So I play the ones like the Blood Imp, the Flame Imp, and the Voidwalker. I think they're ridiculously strong. And that's why all my Warlock decks are like really focused towards those like really cheap units that you can get, or beasts, or whatever you call them, and then you can get them out as soon as possible, and then you can draw more of those with your ability.
Do you feel like the cards that do damage to yourself, like Flame Imp, do you think those are better than the discard ones? What do you prefer?
Yeah, definitely. I don't like the discard ones too much because of the random element in them. I wouldn't mind having like one of them in the really cheap deck, just because you can play it at the end of, discarding your hand.
Yeah.
But,
Makes sense.
Yeah,
I sort of like that discard design. It really fits the Warlock flavor well, and they're pretty strong.
Yeah. They are. It seems like sometimes I just get absolutely murdered by it if somebody has like all that super aggressive Warlock stuff in it, and sometimes they just kill themselves too, which kind of does reflect how Warlocks were in World of Warcraft, I guess, as well too.
Yep, it's fun.
It's pretty true. Yeah, and that's one thing I really do like about the game. And I mean, maybe if you haven't played World of Warcraft, you don't know it as much, but like the way the classes play in the game, I feel like really does reflect how they played in the MMO too, which is kind of fun.
I never actually played the MMO. I got one, like, I think I had a little short guy with an axe, and I got him to level 7 or something. I'm like, all right, this just really isn't for me. And I only did that like 2 years ago or something, so.
Wow.
I don't know. The flavor for me doesn't actually matter. These cards could all, like, have 0 artwork and 0 flavor, and be like, oh, this is a strategy game. Let me look at it in that way.
Yeah, that's one thing that kind of loses me in the conversation, so sorry about that. It's like terminology. Okay. I do not. Like, I like making my own decks. I don't really look at any forums or anyone else, for that matter, for streams or anything like that. I just like making my decks and playing my decks, because it is a strategy game.
Did you play card games before this?
I played Magic.
Oh, okay. Did you
Guess
play
what color my deck was?
Did you play it seriously, or it was probably red, right?
No, it was 5
red
colors.
Or green?
Now. Of course, it was 5
colors.
colors. Yeah, man, I'm cats. What did you expect?
I guess that fits pretty well. Yeah. All right. Was it slivers?
No, man, slivers suck. It was an awesome deck back like when Invasion was around. It had like Draco in it. I had
yeah.
Like one. No, don't say "oh yeah" as if you know what my deck is. Still,
I played.
You did not.
For the 5-color
never
Dragon
played
Invasion block. I did. I played that.
Okay.
No, I do know what you mean. I do.
Okay. And then I had that the card that, for example, like I could do 200 damage in a turn. It was the sickest troll deck as well, but it actually worked well.
Yeah.
It's
5-color was good in Invasion block.
Yeah. There was a card that would lift up a creature and put as many Saproling tokens there and like in play as that creature costed. So I could play like Draco by the 5th turn, and then play that card, and I would put 16. And then I had Rith, who like every time you attack, you say a color, and it doubles the creatures of that color. And it was just like a Saproling deck, but I didn't have any Saproling cards. I just made the Saprolings out of thin air, and they just fucked shit up. It was a lot of fun.
It's a good time for 5-color for
Sounds
sure.
Sounds like a sick deck.
Yeah.
I
Alright.
once made a bet against a friend that wasn't very good, that I could beat him with 2,000 life. That's what the deck was designed for. I won.
I can
Sounds
hardly
like
wait
a-
until there's more sets out in Hearthstone and we can like make decks like this, because you know at some point there's going to be an expansion. They're going to like make cards that accidentally like combo in a crazy way with other cards and just break the game. I hope that happens. I really hope we get to see some of the same like crazy stuff like 2,000 health or doing like infinite damage that you saw in Magic the Gathering. That'd be great.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's some pretty sick combos out already, like that stupid Soul Priest and Greater Heal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. It seems like the only way to make priest deck work. So it's, I don't know.
I had a-
I don't mind the combos like that. Like Druid has a lot of combos. It seems that you can just wait for, like, survive until. It's kind of the same for priest, I feel. I think that the priest cards that they want you to play are just so crappy because one silence is just yeah, GG.
Silence is pretty nice. You know, we've been talking a lot about the constructed stuff. Cats, do you play much Arena?
Yeah, man. Not a whole lot, but yeah, a decent amount, I would say.
And Trump, you play mostly Arena, right?
I've been known to play it a lot, yeah.
Like, what's your percentage Arena versus constructed?
98% Arena, 2%
98%.
Constructed.
Wow. Why is that? Why do you like Arena so much?
I like Arena a lot because it's just always super different and you get to build your deck differently each time. It's just so much different flavor. It's great.
So just kind of the variety of it keeps you more interested, basically?
Yep.
Doe, what about you? Do you like Arena much?
I'm liking it a little bit more as time goes on. I played plenty of draft tournaments and sealed deck stuff in Magic the Gathering over the years, but I was always more of a constructed person, so that's how it is in Hearthstone for me too, is I definitely prefer constructed, but I am playing a lot more Arena lately, and it is fun, but I kind of see it as, for me personally, kind of like a diversion, sort of a side thing, because I like to be very in control of like what's in my deck, and I need to like I like to be able to like look at somebody else's deck and be like, oh yeah, I know what this type of deck is, and like make my decisions off of that and try to like play against his deck specifically. And so the random aspect of Arena with like what cards I'm gonna get and like I have no idea what he's gonna have, I feel like it takes away like a lot of the thinking, the type of thinking I like to do when I play. So it's, yeah, there's definitely a lot of thinking to be done in Arena, but it's just like a different type, I guess. So
Yeah,
in
like
my
building the deck is the most exciting part of Arena. And
Yeah,
then when you're
I-
done, you're either like yes or fuck, and then it's like just sometimes I just retire my deck before playing.
It's like I've got like these good, I've like got 2 good 10 good hunter creatures, and I'm like, all right, sick. That's a good starting. Now I need like some removal and stuff, and then you just like get all bad neutral stuff for the next 20 cards, and you're like, well, I guess that's that. I don't know. But now, Trump, you would probably say that I'm making the wrong card decisions, right?
Well, I mean, sometimes you don't get what you want, but that's the beauty of Arena. Like, you can always make something out of nothing, or what seems like nothing.
Do you ever have decks where you feel like, well, I'm just gonna go, like 2 and 3 this time, or I'm just not gonna have a chance to win very much?
Yep. And then sometimes I go
All right.
8 wins with it. Who knows? I actually did an Arena where I just picked all the right side cards, and I went 8 wins with that. So
Interesting.
you can make anything happen with any cards.
That is cool. So now, obviously, a lot of people would say Rogue is the best in Arena, and I think that's kind of hard to argue. But besides Rogue, what do you think is right up there?
I've got a bit of a tier list. I think Rogue's number 1. Let's see. Up there, I would say Mage, Druid, Warrior, and Shaman.
Warrior, really?
Yeah, Warrior is
I
really
have no
strong.
luck with that every time. And Paladin seems pretty. I went 9-0 with the Paladin like 3 days ago. It was pretty sick, but yeah, and with Hunter too, it's so like random. It's like if you get a lot of beasts, you do really well, and then if you don't, you do so crappy.
Yeah, I stopped picking Hunter after a while. I like to pick Mage in Arena right now because they have so many class spells that are AoE, and I feel like AoE control is really strong in Arena overall.
What's your favorite type of deck to draft in Arena, Trump?
I'm pretty flexible. I just pick the best cards, and then like after a while, after like 10 picks in, I can know like if I'm gonna go super aggro, which I've done. But I tend towards the control side.
Which heroes, like, how do you guys each choose your heroes when they pop up at the beginning of an arena? Like, what are you, is it like a mood thing, or do you go to the tier list because you want to win? What is it?
I take a poll of
You take a poll
people
on
who
your
watch.
stream?
Yep. So they
How often
forced
do they
me.
vote for Rogue?
No, they forced me into Priest and Warlock the majority, since those two are considered weaker, I suppose, and I've actually ended up playing Rogue the least, but it's all in good fun.
It seems like, too, with Arena, you're a little bit less kind of restricted by your class, I suppose, too, because I've done some arenas where I hardly get any class cards at all, where it's mostly all neutral 3-packs. So I feel like in a lot of situations, your class doesn't end up mattering as much as it does in constructed, obviously, but just in general, it's not as big of a deal in Arena.
Yeah, that's really true. And part of the reason why Rogue is so strong in Arena is, well, their class cards are all common and really good, and their hero ability is really good. The hero ability comes into a lot of play in Arena.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rogue is like really silly. When I go Rogue in Arena, I actually have only lost to Rogue. Like, that's why. I don't know. I'm so sick of Rogue that actually it's beginning to disgust me. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like playing almost only customs at this point because I'm like, all right, let's fix this stupid Defias shit. Like,
Rogue is like way down on the ladder now. I mean, I still play a decent amount of ladder, even though I don't really have a big reason to at this point. But like, I've noticed that the number of rogues is a lot less now, and I think part of that is Divine Shield Paladin getting a lot more popular. But part of it too is that like people are just getting bored with Rogue. They're like, well, it's just more cost efficient than all the other classes. It's just like stronger right now, so people like get bored winning, so they want to try the things. So it seems like the age of rogues is kind of like drawn to a close now, which is nice.
Well, no. Like if that was the reason for which people are stopping, then no. I mean,
what?
It's like when the beta was out for StarCraft 1 and Wings of Liberty, I used to not make roaches because I knew they were gonna get nerfed, right? So that's what you're saying right now, but we have to wait for the nerf before being happy and calling it the age of Rogue being gone.
Well, Blizzard said, we had Eric Dodds from Blizzard on the show last week, and he was saying that they were looking at nerfing Rogue. So, like, the news is already out there that they're going to change it. So I feel like people are kind of in that mindset now where they know, the nerfs are coming, so it's time to move on to something else. So I'll say the age of Rogue is over, like, and cross my fingers at the same time. I'll do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite picks overall, like your favorite type of pick, and then also your favorite card for a class in Arena? Like, what do you see it and you're like, your mouth waters and you're like, I am grabbing this card. Go ahead, anyone can start. It's okay.
Guess first. Trump, go for it.
All right. Well, I actually got this nice tier list right here. Ooh.
Wow. Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Let's see. Man, there's too many cards to say. Like, you should narrow it down.
Well, give us a few.
Like, for a class, neutrals...
Give us the whole spread, Trump. We're here to hear from our special guest.
All right.
Well, I don't think forever. There's not that many cards. Come on.
Well, let's start with the humble commons then, I guess. since you see the most of those the most, I always like seeing Spellbreaker, Cult Master, Chillwind Yeti, and Acidic Swamp Ooze. Those and Dark Iron Dwarf. Those 5 are like my top 5 commons. And then
What
there's
was the last
so
one?
many good
Dark Iron Dwarf.
uncommons, rares, legendaries. Those make my mouth water even more.
Okay. Cats, do you have any that you really like?
For Druid, I really like Keeper of the Grove. For Hunter, I really like Starving Buzzard or the Animal Companion. They're pretty broken. I don't really play Mage. I don't really ever pick Mage. For Paladin, well, that's tough. I guess True Silver Champion's pretty good. I like Blessing of Kings too, especially in Arena. For Priest, I don't really play Priest in Arena because I've only had bad experiences in doing so. I don't really ever pick Rogue either. Or Shaman. So, just because, I don't know, Shaman seems too slow-paced for me. I don't know. I like being aggressive. For Warlock, it's those little cards, the Blood Imp, the Flame Imp, and the Voidwalker. If I can get a few of those, or any of those, I'll try to like build a cheap deck and do what I do in Constructed. For Warrior, again, like I played a couple times and I was really disappointed. So I'm surprised Trump thinks it's one of the best. I don't know. I wish I knew how to build that shit because it seems like I just get destroyed every time I pick Warrior.
Oh,
And,
all right. Then that's
I'll talk about some of the warrior cards that make my mouth water then.
all right. Yeah, please.
Do it, yeah.
Well, I think Fiery War Axe is probably one of the best cards in Arena, and it's common too, so you can count on getting 1 or 2 of them, or 3. The Cleave is great, that's also common. It has a lot of solid cards. Warsong Commander is giving everything haste and or charge, and it's crazy. 2 more commons are Wrathy Weaponsmith and Arcanite Reaper. And you just, that's why Warrior is so good. You typically will get at least 2, if not at least 4 of those. And all of those are at worst 2-for-1s usually. Which means like you use your 1 card and you kill 2 of their cards. So, very good value on all of those.
Yeah, what was
So
the first one that you said?
Fiery War Axe, that would be number 1.
I can't.
That card is just awesome in general.
What is? I can't make out what you're saying. Unless my headset.
Fiery War Axe, the weapon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
all
good.
these weapons just tend to be the best in Arena. Like for Shaman, actually one thing that's even better than Fiery War Axe is Stormforged Axe.
That card's badass even in Constructed. That thing is just killer. The fact that you can actually get 3-for-1 with that thing, and you can drop it on turn 2, and they get a totem on turn 3. God, Stormforged Axe is a monster.
Yeah,
really
okay.
is.
I forgot about what that one did. I had to look it up. Because I know Fiery War Axe quite well. But yeah, any of those weapons that you can just play on like your first coin turn or something like that gives you such a nice little edge.
I like Fiery War Axe. The thing is, with 2 durability, it makes sense because it has extra damage and all, but I originally played so much Shaman that I'm like spoiled with high durability and lower damage output, which I just prefer. You just gain more advantage out of it over time, I think.
Doomhammer. All day, every day.
Doomhammer, man. Oh, God. Doomhammer for the win. But,
it's like playing whack-a-mole with your opponent's creatures when you get that weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really think it was that easy to get weapons because like the few times that I've played Warrior, I just don't. And then I got a bunch of pirates that don't do shit without the weapon. It's like, okay. You know what card I really like that I really want to listen to you guys' ideas on? I don't really like it, but I think it's definitely underrated. Think Master over Spark. Thoughts?
He's the guy that makes like either a 1/1 or a 5/5 chicken, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that
Well, it's
guy?
a dinosaur. It's a dinosaur.
Yeah,
or a
5/5
Spark,
dinosaur.
actually.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait. No, I don't think I know what this card is. I
Dinosaur.
think I've never seen this. What is this?
Think Master over Spark. It's on
Great
the
legendary card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it costs 3. It's a 2/2, and the battle cry.
You target a minion with it, right?
Yes.
It's.
Whoa. That's cool, actually. Trump, do you ever play with that card?
Well, I've drafted it once in Arena because it's a
Did it do
legendary. It doesn't
anything?
come up very often. I think it's
Yeah.
good.
I think it's really good. Like if you're playing constructed and your deck is really cheap, then you have like 1/1 creatures or like 1/2, 1/3, whatever, like 2/1 creatures anyways. Then you can like cast it on that shit, and if you go for the average, you'd be transforming it into a 3/3 creature. So mathematically, it seems pretty good, right? And then there's also the other side of things, that if there's a huge creature and like in your opponent's side of things, worst case scenario you make it into a 5/5, but best case scenario it's a fucking squirrel.
Yeah, no, I like what you're saying with that. Like late game, that can't be that bad. You can, you nail a Ragnaros with that. It's like I'd much rather you have a 5/5 than Ragnaros out,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
really any. I like what you're saying. It makes sense.
I agree with what Total Biscuit just said in chat. I was about to mention this, but yeah, it's so good in Paladin when you can like use your 1/1 recruit that you summon with your hero ability and maybe turn him into a 5/5. That's fun.
Yeah, I have him on my Pally deck. It's sick.
He's good, man.
I think so
I've also had people on the other side turn their own creatures into 1/1s, which is kind of fun for me too. But
One card that you actually sold me on, Cats, because LS was talking to me about it a little bit, but
Lone
you
Walker
sold
Cho?
me on it when Lore Walker Cho. You knew what it was too, because you played that little bitch against me. That thing is annoying. Oh my god, Lore Walker Cho. I need everyone's thoughts on this card because I've started to mess around with it a little bit, and it's actually pretty crazy. Trump, what do you think?
My response is kill it with fire. Kill it immediately. You cannot let that guy stay on the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Am I the only one
So
who
good.
thinks this card sucks?
Yeah,
What?
maybe.
Lore
I don't
Walker-
know.
It's something for something so cheap for 2 mana to and I don't actually have this card yet, but I think I'd probably use it because it's something that they immediately need to deal with. It's something that they really can't let sit around.
Trump,
It has 4
why
HP.
do you think the card sucks?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's two-way. Like, if you're specifically building a deck with few spells, then okay, fine. But
Obvious.
you can always
I'm gonna
not
play
play
with a rogue
spells, and then it's just a 1/4.
Here's why I really like it. This card gives you a sick tempo advantage if you actually have like a heavy minion deck with like good minions, especially minions that buff each other. If you get minions that buff each other with this guy out, oh my god, like you have a 1 minion advantage and you like play this guy and then like you play the guy that gives him +1/+1 or whatever. Oh, it starts to get so dirty. It makes the game feel so awkward. It reminds me a lot of Sylvanas Windrunner, where he doesn't maybe end up doing that much, but the amount you have to play around him is so annoying.
Yeah, I feel like you can't say, well, just don't play spells. I mean, that works against like some decks, but no card is going to be great against every single deck out there, But this is going to be a guy, I haven't used him myself, so I'm just speculating here, but I feel like against most decks there are going to be a good amount of spells that you'll gain from playing him, and it is something that people need to deal with right away. And the fact that he has 4 health makes it kind of tough to deal with unless you're just going to silence him. But that could happen to any good card you put out, so that's not really a big concern.
And even a silence for a creature that costs 2, and it's still a 1/4. It's not like terrible. I think it's
I'd
just
love for
like
someone to burn an owl on him.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Let my Twilight Drakes get out for free.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best starting cards that you can get on a deck that doesn't have a lot of spells, which I have a lot of. But like if you can get it on the second turn or on the first turn, even with a ring, it's just like, okay, I win. It's one of the best cards in my opinion.
Against a lot of decks, yeah.
I see Trump being a little
Trump
bit
totally
miffed about all
disagrees.
this. I want to hear this disagreement.
All right. Well, I mean, you play your turn 2, and let me say this: like, if you don't play it on turn 2, it's garbage because your opponent's gonna have like something that deals 4 damage, and then you'll just have a dead Lore Walker Cho. But You play it on turn 2. They play like some garbage. Let's say what's some random card? Let's see. They play Raging. No, you can't play that. They play a 3/2 vanilla. They play a River Crocolisk, whatever. That's a tie with Lorewalker Cho.
The what?
Oh, if they play a Crocolisk.
2/3
Okay.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
2/3 vanilla guy.
But then they can't exactly get rid of Lorewalker Cho.
Yeah,
So what do they
I mean-
what do they do next turn? I mean,
You can attack
Would
him
you-
twice
like-
or something, right?
Would you consider a 1/4 with taunt a garbage?
Yeah, it's garbage.
No, like that's what it is. Worst case scenario, it's a one
A
1/4 with taunt.
1/4 for 2 with taunt, that would be like one of the worst cards ever.
No,
yeah,
this
I'd
is-
agree. I agree with that. That if you look at it like that, it doesn't sound as good. But I
well,
I feel like
obviously it doesn't sound as
it
good because
prevented-
that's the worst possible case scenario.
it prevents them from casting spells potentially. So it can buy you another turn. It's all about what it can do. It's not like what it will do every single time, because no card has something like it will do this every single time. But oftentimes it seems like Lorewalker Cho would be a good play.
Okay, so this is actually I'm watching. I'm sitting back in my little crow's nest, watching you guys, and this is such an interesting thing because Trump is coming from an arena standpoint where Lorewalker Cho doesn't make any sense at all because Lorewalker Cho has to be in the right deck to have
arena, I
a
wouldn't
huge
play him.
effect. So it makes sense what he's saying, but then I think the three of us play a bit more constructed than arena, where if you plan correctly for Lorewalker Cho, the guy's a complete badass.
Well,
So I
even
just
in
wanna throw that out
constructed,
there.
let's say constructed. Then it's good against certain decks. But say you're up against a creature heavy deck, which a lot of arena decks are like that. Like say you're up against a fast Warlock or Hunter deck, then Lorewalker Cho is just a 1/4. They play Warlock plays like a 4/3 Succubus on turn 2, and that's a disaster for your Cho. Or they play the Flame Imp and then they attack it twice, finish it off with something. The Hunter plays some random 2/2 that trades with Cho, and that's the best case scenario for Cho. Because, against those decks. Against decks higher in spells, then it's pretty good, yes.
The thing is, he has to be in the right place. Like, for instance, the way that Katz really sold me on him is he had it in a warrior deck that had, I think, no spells at all, and it was like a lot of weapons and a bunch of minions. And like, especially when you start to get some taunt in there as well, it just... Lorewalker Cho
if you can control the board and like with the minions, which is what I was saying, like you did with charge and with the weapons and whatnot, then you can't get rid of it without spells. You just can't. Like, it's insane. Like it always trades for a spell if you play it right.
Mm-hmm. I also feel like using that it's hard to use the argument that says well, if they put down a 2/2 then it's a wash, because that kind of makes the assumption that there's going to be like no other cards played for like the next, because you're going to be playing something next turn that's ideally going to augment this Walker Cho that's come out. And then then it gets to their next turn and they can start to make their first trade with Lorewalker with that 2/2 if they want to, but they're restricted to only playing creatures if they don't want to give away any spells, and if they play a spell you get it. So even if they start to make that trade with the 2/2, I feel like you still get a bit of a card advantage with that.
Like especially
because you're either stopping
deck,
them from playing something or gaining something.
And if your deck doesn't have any, like, look at it this way: if your deck doesn't have any spells or a really low amount of spells, then your hand should be better once Lorewalker Cho isn't played on their hand, because they will have those spells there, right? So you should have higher odds of controlling the board like that.
I think
That's
in the
true.
end
it can negate a lot more cards in their hands.
Yeah, I think in the end he seems much better in constructed than arena. Obviously, I probably wouldn't play him in arena, and he's going to be better in certain situations than others, like any card in any CCG. But I like Warlocker Cho. I think he's good. I haven't spent the Arcane Dust on him yet. I don't know if he's quite worth the 1600 Arcane Dust, but maybe someday I'll get him.
Well, I think he's probably pretty crap in arena. I haven't played enough arena, but in some decks in constructed he's pretty neat. To kind of change up that subject a little bit, I want to know, like, what minion abilities do you guys like Like, who's into taunt? Who's into spell power? What are people liking, especially in arena? Because I kind of want to, while we have Trump here, talk a bit more about arena.
All right. I'll start this one. Let's see. Taunt is garbage. Spell power is situationally. It's situational. What you're just looking for is big stuff and useful battle cries, I'd say.
Consistency.
Yeah,
Okay, so basically you're trying
stand
to
alone is good.
Yeah.
You're trying to gain value each and every time you play a card.
Yep.
Is this what I'm hearing? That's why, because that's what a battle cry does. Basically, you play a taunt, you don't know what's going to happen. They can take care of it and shit. But you play some of the battle cry, even if they take care of it, it already did its battle cry. So that's kind of the. You really don't like taunt at all, though. You think it's.
I mean, it's worth something, but let's say, for example, you're comparing the 6-mana 6/7 ogre against the Lord of the Arena 6/5 taunt. I'd pick the ogre over it.
Generally, non-taunt cards have better base stats than taunt cards, which makes them better in arena.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree totally. And the spell power thing too. I mean, you just can't. Spell power requires you to have that guy out, have him live, and then have spells to capitalize on it. And the chances of those two things happening seem, too remote in arena with most decks to really kind of count on. Is that kind of the idea that you've got with that one?
Yeah, that's the general idea. Yes. Cool. Like for example, you could have the Ogre Magi, which is a 4/4 +1 spell power, or you can have Chillwind Yeti, which is the boring 4/5. So. On one hand, you get 1 spell power just at 1 toughness less, which seems like a good deal, but as it turns out, the Yeti tends to give me more success.
Oh yeah, well 5 health is actually really tough to deal with. That's like, there's like a couple little health thresholds at certain parts of the game that make creatures tough to deal with, like 5 health at 4 mana is tough to deal with, and like 2 health stuff that comes out on like turn 1 is tough to deal with right away. So yeah, I do like the Yeti. And those things were annoying to kill in World of Warcraft as well, so it's true.
What do you like, Cats, when you're playing the arena? Are you of the same mind that go for stats over abilities, go for battle cries over everything else?
Yeah, I suppose I am. I don't really play taunts unless like they're like really good, or like I like the Senjin Shieldmaster.
That guy's the best.
Perhaps.
He's the best.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, maybe it's because of what Doa was saying, and he has 5 health on the 4th turn. But aside from that, just I try to go for cheap decks whenever I can, and then when I can't, then I just do whatever I can. It's just like random as fuck. I don't really like arena that much in that regard.
Definitely not the arena master here.
No.
When I've done arena, and I feel like these same rules don't apply 100%, but I've tried to like apply a lot of the same rules that you follow when you're drafting in Magic the Gathering or when you're playing sealed deck in MTG as well, where you look a lot for removal and you look a lot for like big game winning guys, big cost efficient minions, and I feel like a lot of that still applies to Hearthstone as well. Trump, did you play a lot of Magic the Gathering, like drafting and things like that before you started playing Hearthstone?
I did. I still do occasionally. Just last week I was over at the Theros pre-release.
Oh, awesome.
Pretty cool stuff.
That's one thing I miss about living in Korea. Is you can't go and play Magic the Gathering because all the cards are in Korean.
Dylan and I have been lonely for some Magic the Gathering. I was playing MTG Online, but that shit is expensive. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Hearthstone has nothing on Magic as far as expense goes.
Right on there.
True. But basically a lot of the same rules I feel apply between drafting Magic the Gathering and playing Hearthstone on Arena.
Not quite, actually. So, I get the feeling that if we were following Magic rules, the removal would be a lot higher. Still, there's a lot of good removal, but there's quite a lot of removal that is outclassed by just creatures, and not just bomb creatures, but just solid creatures, for example, Yeti. And that would be because in Hearthstone, unlike Magic, you can attack the other guy's creatures, so all of your minions are removal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. That was a mistake I was making until recently with my drafting too, is I was focusing too much on removal spells and things like that because I was trying to do it Magic the Gathering style. But yeah, that is a good point. It is a little bit different.
Mm. I like that philosophy quite a bit. It makes sense. You know, the thing is, constructed an arena play out so differently because your deck has to have like this complete synergy either way. And what Trump is saying makes perfect sense for arena, right? You're going to grab a bunch of bigger vanilla minions that are going to do well for you. Whereas, you know, if you try to play with those cards in constructed, I mean, I'm like, oh, your minions don't do anything special. Well, all my cards work together as a team to kind of destroy you, you know? So it's kind of weird how different the two really are. Whereas, you know, in Magic, it's not that draft and constructed are the same, but you can use a lot of the same ideas when you're drafting as when you play constructed. Whereas I feel like this is almost completely opposite.
It probably
that makes
has
any
a lot
sense?
to do with the depth. Like there's not that many options. Like we have to wait until expansions come out and stuff like that. I think. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You
the
get
decision
actually more
making,
picks in Magic too, so that helps as well. But
That's true. Yeah, you can choose from like basically an entire pack, and then like it gets smaller as the draft goes around the table. It's true.
Well, Trump, actually, I have a question for you because you play like a ton of Arena and you've played plenty of Magic as well.
Yeah.
Now, in Arena, I do like how in Arena I can sit down and draft at any moment and then play. But I liked in Magic how you had to actually keep track of what was in the packs as you're passing them around, and then you played those same people and you knew basically what type of cards were on the table. How do you feel about that difference specifically? Because sometimes you're just going to play someone, they have all these cards, you're like, wow, I wish I'd got cards that were that good, or, you know, something like that.
I think it's a lot more comparable to Magic Sealed. It's actually a mix of Sealed and Draft. That's probably the best description I can give. I think a draft format might work. No, it wouldn't because of the classes. But yeah, I compare it to Magic Sealed, and you can sort of pick your own Sealed a little bit. You have a bit of control there.
I can see that.
All right, yeah, that's more fair because yeah, Sealed is like, it was fun, but it wasn't as good as drafting, I would say, as far as like the way it was done, the amount of skill it took. I remember going to pre-release and the guy just got 2 Manticores, and I'm like, all right, cool.
Oh man, Manticore, that like brings me way back. Holy crap.
That's the lion guy,
no,
right?
Masticore, I'm sorry.
Masticore, yeah.
That's what I
Right,
meant.
the artifact
Most
creature, yeah.
broken sealed deck card ever. But
All right, I was like tempted to go off on like a 4th edition sealed deck like tournament story, but I'm not going to do that because this is a show about Hearthstone, guys. So we have to stay on task. I feel like we haven't given cats enough to talk about yet. Cats. Is there anything just Hearthstone related you want to talk about? Let's talk.
I don't know. We could talk more about priests and maybe
actually,
warriors.
That's priests are a good idea. I was gonna say something about priests actually before the show started. Remember, I had something to say, but then I completely forgot what it was. So you say your thing, and maybe I'll remember it.
Well, I don't have a thing to say. I would just like to talk about it. I don't know. It just seems bad. Like it seems like what Blizzard gives you and what they want you to do with it. There's not a lot of synergy with the cards. There's not a lot of consistency.
Yeah.
Like like for example, there's one that I don't know. There's a lot of cards that don't have. There's one that doubles the healing and damage of your spells, right? But then there's only like 2 spells that heal, and like 2 that do damage, and they're kind of crappy, and you would use them earlier anyways. I don't know. It just lacks a lot of depth. My favorite card ever is probably Shadow Form, though. That shit's so fun. But I also
when they get
think,
more
like,
cards in there, that'll be great to support that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just a matter of waiting for more cards, but I don't know. Just the way that they designed Priest, it doesn't seem like it's like half Shadowish Priest and half not. And then if you play Akanai Soul Priest and you have, like cards that heal you as well, it's so stupid. Like Holy Noah will do damage to you and stuff like that. So it's as if Akanai Soul Priest was basically just intended for combos with greater heal, or the minions that heal, and that's pretty cool actually. I don't know if you guys use that at all, like the Voodoo Doctor.
Yeah, I've been playing around with it a little bit. I mean, the healing is fun, and I don't know, when I play Priest, I don't play it seriously. I just kind of play it for fun, and I'm like, well, I get to steal his cards, LOL, and I get to play stuff, you know, but it's...
See, that's
other than
so silly.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't like those cards either. The ones that
They're
steal
fun,
their...
but they're just not very good.
Hey, they are good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huh?
They are good. Thought Steal is great. Mind Vision is okay.
Okay, wait.
Agreed.
The Mind
Are we
Vision,
talking about
you think Mind
Constructed or
Vision's
Arena?
good?
Yeah, it's a good card.
Yeah, I mean,
Vision.
compare Thought Steal to Arcane Intellect, it's just as good technically.
No, it's not. Like Dan was saying, like usually you're building a deck that has synergy with your deck. You're basically saying, I think your cards might be better than mine.
I don't know about that. Well, both cards are like they're different for me. Like I really like Mind Vision because there's like so many different ways you can play it. You can play it to fill in your mana curve a little bit. You can just play it early game to just see, kind of get a feel for what they kept in their hand. You can play it as their hand is getting really low and you're getting up 6-7 mana, because then you grab like their big card that they're about to have. It's got a lot of flexibility to it, and it gives you an idea of what's going on. Like there have been a lot of times, like the other day I stole Draxus with it, and I tell you, you play a lot different if you know they have Draxus in their hand. It's it's a good card.
Was it?
And I did
it
kill
end
him
up
with
being
Draxus.
Draxus first? Oh wow!
All right.
I killed him with
I was
Draxus.
wondering.
It was sick.
As long as you spam mistake the entire time.
What's the name of that other one? Trump is Thought Steal.
Thought Steal, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Thought Steal is better than Mind Vision actually.
Thought
But-
Steal is pretty badass, actually. I like it.
I really don't. I
You
don't
don't?
know, like, well,
It's
maybe it's because of the way I play my priest deck. Like I usually, the priest deck that I have, like I usually want to get to my combos, and I usually want to like get there as fast as possible, and that just doesn't help at all.
You make a good point that Thought Steal is not good in a Priest combo deck, but it's good in like if you're playing a more control type deck.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe.
I play one Thought Steal in my Priest control deck, and it's just like I look at it as I'm drawing two cards, and the thing is, everyone with 30 card decks, like you're not going to get anything that's crap most of the time, right? Normally you'll get like a mediocre card and another mediocre to good card, because that's what's in their deck, right? So it's kind of neat. Like I've grabbed some amazing cards. It gives you an idea of what's left in the deck, which actually can be very helpful. You know, there's been times where you'd be surprised some of the crap you grab. You know, I don't care if I get like, sometimes you'll just grab like everyone plays stupid. What's the name of that little elf that draws you a card? I don't know why I can't remember.
Loot
card
Hoarder.
names.
Loot Hoarder.
No, the elf, the one that does it.
Well, he's
The 1/2 for 2.
Doesn't know
Gnomish,
what?
Gnomish Inventor, yeah.
No,
This guy didn't
No,
play
the
WoW,
1/2
Trump.
for
I don't
2.
know. He didn't play the 1/2 for 2. That's Gnomish
Novice
Inventor.
Engineer.
No, that's
Novice
the 2/4.
Engineer, yeah.
Engineer.
Novice Engineer. Thank you.
That's
Gnomish-
not
I
an
don't know.
elf. What?
That's
not
an
a-
elf? What are you talking about?
No,
Look
it's
at
not
it.
an elf.
Looks like an elf.
kidding me?
Looks selfish.
Yeah,
Simon,
elves
you gotta
are really
bring that up
short,
on screen.
Didn't have pointed ears.
You've
Then it'd
got to
an
be
elf,
kidding
probably.
me. That's not an elf. What?
That's an elf.
I'm with Trump
we're
on this
bringing it
one,
up.
man. It's
Novice
You
not-
can't
Engineer,
see.
Simon.
You actually
not. Look
can't
at. Let's
see
see this
ears.
on. Look at that. Clearly not an elf. Look,
You
it's
don't
her,
think
it's her
that's an
helmet.
elf's face?
It's
You
her
You don't think
helmet.
that's an elf's face?
Actually.
No.
Well, yeah, I guess that is a helmet, not ears.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
But she has a very angular face. Very angular face. She's obviously very learned, being an engineer that draws you a card, which points towards elves as well. They have a good educational system.
I don't know, man. Gnomes are pretty smart too.
You think it's a gnome?
Well,
Obviously.
she'd have to be a midget if she was an elf. So.
All right, yeah, no, gnomes
Yeah.
are supposed to be shorter and uglier. This is.
Look at the proportion. You can have. Wow, that's a really racist
What do you
statement
think
to
it
make,
is,
Artosis. All gnomes are ugly, huh?
I
I don't know, man.
That is technically very racist.
We're zooming in on
Species-
this. It appears to be a gnome.
But have you never played it before? It's clearly voiced by a gnome.
That's also true, but he wouldn't know that if he didn't play WoW. So
Yeah.
I haven't played,
Okay.
so for me that's a little elf thing.
I don't know. How many elves do you know that have high squeaky voice, other than like the Keebler elves that are obviously gnomes that masquerade with the name elf?
I suddenly don't like novice engineers much anymore. You guys kind of ruined it for me. I thought it was an elf. I'm like, oh, man.
It's like, I talked to Josh, he was telling me that people thought the ravaging hyena or scavenging hyena or whatever it was, people thought it was a beaver sitting on like a beaver dam.
Really?
Let's look at that one too. Yeah, while we're on the topic, scavenging hyena, right? That's the name of it?
I think so.
Look that one up.
But
Need
it says
Simon to bring that
hyena
up.
in its name.
Right, it says hyena, but apparently people look at that and they think it looks like a beaver sitting on a beaver dam.
All right, we'll see in just a second.
Yeah. Apparently
no,
this
it
was
looks like a hyena chewing on a bone on top of a pile of bones.
See, that's what I thought too, but apparently this was going on
Trump will probably tell me
Blizzard
it's a no,
apparently
man.
that it
I
looked
don't
like
know.
Yeah, I know.
it looked like a beaver. So there it is. All right. Well, on that note, I think it's been a great show. But I think we're going to end it there. It's time for shout-outs. Cats go first. What do you after the beaver card, what do you want to shout out?
Great way to end the show on that beaver. All right,
I know.
sick.
Thanks.
All right.
Best outro ever.
Shout out to you guys. Thank you for having me. And my sponsors. Thanks a lot to TT Sports especially. They've been supporting us a lot lately. So, yeah. That's it. Check out my stream. I might stream later if you watch StarCraft.
All right. Trump, you stream, right?
Yep, I will shout out iHearthU.com, where I'm going to be putting my awesome tier list soon.
Oh, sick.
Of Arena.
I'm going to read that.
Bet nerds want to see that. I'm going to actually just fucking open that up and go do a bunch of Arena games.
Hell yeah.
In accelerated mode. It's like the hyperbolic time chamber or something for someone who's played very little Arena like me.
You go like Arena Super Saiyan. Cool.
Any other shout-outs there, Trump?
Myself, because I'm awesome.
Wow. You are awesome. How about your stream? What's the link to that so people can watch you play?
Yeah, it's at Twitch, twitch.tv/TrumpSC.
Sick. And that's your Twitter as well, right? TrumpSC?
Yes, it is.
All right, so guys, go follow him on those. As for myself, same as Cats, big thanks to TT Sports. They are awesome. A lot of support for the esports community and whatnot. I buy power as well. And, oh yeah, I have a meta episode I'm going to do another one with Europeans tomorrow. Make sure you check out Meta. It's a show like this about StarCraft. Oftentimes it has the wonderful Cats as well. We have a very good time talking about StarCraft. And I think that's about it for me. Go ahead, Noah.
All right. Well, follow me on Twitter and Twitch. I do stream a lot of ranked, a lot of constructed, and I stream a lot of my own deck building too. I like to talk with chat and build decks, and like yesterday we were working on a basic druid deck because I'm doing an article series for iHearthU.com about like basic decks that you can make with only the free cards, so you don't have to spend any money to make these decks. And with Chat and I together made a druid deck that did 11 damage on turn 2. So that was pretty fun. That article on that deck is going to go up in the next few days. So definitely check out iHearthU.com. Follow me on Twitter at GGDoa and Twitch GGDoa as well. That is about it. So I suppose that means that is it for this week of Turn2, guys.
TV on Twitter.
Yes, of
TV.
course. As well.
Simon does all of our producing. He's the best.
I'm so bad at shouting out. Sorry, Simon.
That's okay.
Simon's awesome. He's the guy that brings up all the images of beavers and elves and things like that for us. So, all right. But that'll do it for us this week, guys. Definitely come back next week for another awesome episode. But aside from that, that is it. So see you next week.